Greetings from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry, and today we're in a completely different atmosphere because instead of being out in the garden, we are inside this old house. And I'm going to do a new set of videos on something that's near to me and dear to me, and that's collecting. I've been collecting since I was a little girl, and that's because my mother was an antiques bug, and she passed that on to me. So I like to collect vintage and antique things because I love history, and to me it's simply a link to the past through the objects that were used by our ancestors. And so I'd like to do a series on things to collect, how to display them, if you're interested in this sort of thing. I'm going to start out with teapots. And the teapots that you're seeing on this mantle are a combination of Britannia ware, silver, and pewter. Teapots are wonderful things to collect. They have so many different shapes and sizes and designs and styles. They're easy to find. They're so beautiful to display. And they have a lovely history when you think about tea. Let's face it. Everybody loves either tea or coffee. And these are objects that were daily used by people all over the world. My teapot collection began when my husband brought home for me 3 Britannia ware teapots. This is an example of one of them. In fact, this is one that he brought home to me. And it looks a lot like pewter, doesn't it? It actually is made from the same components as pewter, which would be 90% tin, 2% antimony, and 6% copper. Yes, copper. The reason Britannia ware came into being in the first place was that pewter fell out of favor with the public. And so by changing the name and the process of making these teapots, by naming it Britannia ware, obviously made in England, and changing the style and the way that they were made, they got a revival in the industry. So as pewter pieces were cast, Britannia ware is spun, and you get a lot of different shapes and sizes. Some of the elements that you might see on Britannia ware are these relief designs. It's very, very close to being that kind of that dull gray of pewter. Oftentimes you are going to have wooden carved handles and little knobs that are carved wood on the tops. And almost always your Britannia ware is going to be stamped on the bottom. They started making this in 1780 in England. By 1804, the main producers of Britannia ware were James Dixon and Sons, and they nearly always would stamp their name on the bottom of your pot, and that's one way that you'll be able to identify what you've got. They'll either have a catalog number on the bottom of your pot or the name of the producer, and this one in particular does have Dunham and Sons on the bottom of it. I'm sorry, Dixon and Sons. There's another company called Dunham which also made Britannia ware. And I've been able to date this piece to about 1830. And this piece is probably around the same time. Here we have a really interesting grouping in another step-back cupboard in another room. Give my voice, I think I'm catching a cold, so it's a little gravelly. But this is a combination here with pewter, the Britannia ware, and silver plate. And it's a little bit difficult to tell the difference between them, but I'm going to give it a try. So this piece would be silver plate. You can see it's a little more shiny. It's got a lot of etching in it. It's got these wonderful little cherries, relief work on the top. And I believe this piece I dated to about 1860, I think. Now the one in the back here, this is pewter. And the company is stamped on the bottom, and it's a Dunham and Sons. This is a pewter coffee pot or teapot from 1860. And I think you could get one of these for around $30. In fact, I saw a couple on eBay for approximately $25 to $30 not too long ago. So that's where we get into the prices here. It just depends on how unique it is. This one's a pretty unique pot because it's marked Harper's Cold Tea. So this was probably an advertising piece. I believe it's pewter. And then we've got some little miniatures here, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now, here we have some silver plate. And in the back, a great big silver plate pot. It actually was, it looks like it was an award, because engraved on the front it says something about local hound group and Purity Mills Inc. So it was probably some kind of award given to the hunt group. I'm assuming that's fox hunting. Here is another one which I've been able to trace, and this one is marked Manning and Bowman, and they make some really wonderful things, and I'm going to show you some extra special teapots in a minute that they made, I should say. This one is silver plate and pewter. I've seen about 3 of these since I bought this one, also on eBay at a really reasonable price. So what I'm saying is these are not expensive items, but they're just very, very beautiful and interesting. They make wonderful, interesting collectibles. I display mine with old books and pewter candlesticks and just things that would be of the same period. This is a very decrepit little pewter teapot. I have no idea where I got it, but I like the little miniature one down there, and that is marked Made in England. That's all it says, Made in England. This is one of my favorites. This is also one of the originals that my husband brought home for me. And this one, you can kind of see, this is Britannia ware. It's etched. Britannia ware usually looks a little bit darker on the surface and often has little black accoutrements, such as you see right there on the handle, and oftentimes little ivory toppers on the caps. This is a really cute one, and this has feet, ornate feet as well. I'm thinking this was about 1840. My voice is really going. This is a very small set of silver plate, more of the miniature size. And this also is a set of silver plate engraved tea set or coffee set, which I bet I didn't pay more than $30 for this whole set. Really nice set. Now, I'm not saying that you're always going to get these inexpensively. It just depends on where you buy them and what condition they're in. Now, that one in the back, I've never been able to quite figure it out, but it's a set. It looks a lot like pewter, but it's got this sort of stamped design in it, and this is the creamer. I bought it because it was different from anything else that I had here. But I want to talk about this tiny set, because this one is so adorable. This is Britannia ware. It's little doll's tea set. But what's really neat about it is that I found it in a reproduction catalog, which was from 1917, and there is the set. Let's see. Well, where is it? Well, I've got this set too. Britannia metal tea set, silver finish, 69 cents. And this one here, yep, I think that's the same one. 24-piece Britannia metal tea set, 39 cents. Ooh, I wish I had the little spoons that went with it. But I have the creamer, I have the cups, and I have the teapot. And this is just darling. Now, when you're looking for miniatures, it might cost you a little bit more, but well worth it. Now, here's the other little set that's in the catalog. Only problem is this one is missing its spout, but that little fluted design is quite sweet. And I got this at our local antique store, and she just practically gave it to me. So I bet I didn't pay more than $10 for the whole thing. So this just is an indication and shows you how lovely, lovely, lovely teapots and coffee pots are to collect. They can run very, very low prices, but they can also be a little more expensive. These tea and coffee pots are from mid-19th century, and these are enamelware mixed with pewter or silver plate. And you can see how much more beautiful and interesting these are because they have these wonderful designs on them. The enamelware is a baked-on porcelain, and then it would be painted with some beautiful designs. This was actually started out as hotelware. You can see why, because it's pretty elegant. And sometimes they used silver to embellish it. Manning and Bowman were the manufacturers of this particular hotelware. And sometimes they used pewter for the handles and the spouts and the lids. I love the design on this one. This was just so charming and sweet. And that one is mixed with pewter. That's pewter and enamelware. This one is more of a little oddball here. I believe this is some kind of porcelain, and it's a little creamer with a pewter lid, and this one is just so spectacular. I was so happy. My mother found one just like this, and then I found one. I was really happy to find that. These are a little pricier than the others and not as easy to find because they're so unique and beautiful. These are very, very collectible. It probably goes without saying, but when you're displaying teapots, you want to vary the heights and the sizes. Instead of putting everything the same height next to each other, you want to go from a short one to a tall one to a small one, a round one, a different shape. I realize that sounds pretty simple, and most people know that, but not everybody does. A lot of people have a little bit of trouble displaying things, and it's just a few simple rules that you have to follow. You want your best features to be visible to whomever is looking at it. So if you have a really beautiful handle, you want that to be seen. You want your little short pieces in the front, obviously. I think you probably already know that. This is on a fireplace mantle in another room. So displayed along the fireplace mantle, and then up on top are antique baskets and coverlets. This is definitely an early American style decorating. Also a little bit of English cottage and French cottage, but mostly American. Now let's say that you just got a small collection, or you're just beginning to start your collection of teapots and teaware. This is a nice way to display it, because here I've got an example of each piece, each different kind of metal teapot. This one is the Britannia ware. And you can see the shape of a melon. It's got a little flower on the top. This one also has pretty ornate feet. This is probably more of a Victorian piece, so 1840s, 1860s or so. And then here we have silver plate. You can see the etching in the silver plate. It's got that particular shine to it. I don't know if this one's marked on the bottom, but I believe it is. Yes, it is. It's marked on the bottom. And then here we have little pewter creamers and sugar cups. These pewter spoons are actually newly made by some artist friends of mine, and why not add in a silver spoon? So these are displayed on, believe it or not, this tray was actually an old picture frame with some really thick, wonderful glass, and so I'm using it as a tray. And there's a little wooden penny doll, and this is transferware. So you can make a really nice display right on one of your tables. And I hope that you will take a look at collecting metal teapots, because as I said before, they are easy to find. You can find them in all different price ranges, and it's just a kind of an exciting hunt to find different shapes and sizes and manufacturers. So you will enjoy it if you're a collector like me. From Hopalong Hollow, this is Jerry inside this old house.